Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise through the college basketball ranks wasn't supposed to come with legal drama, but that's exactly what's now on her doorstep. In a stunning twist that's sending shockwaves through the sports world, Angel Reese has reportedly filed a lawsuit against Clark, marking a new low in their already tense rivalry. What began as a battle on the court has now escalated into something far more personal and public. The timing? Just as both stars are making the jump to the WNBA spotlight, threatening to derail everything they've worked for. The implications of this lawsuit go far beyond any highlight reel or courtside headline. Legal action between two of the most recognizable faces in women's basketball forces uncomfortable questions about competition, reputation, and personal boundaries in the public eye. As details surface,
if you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
the stakes only grow higher, not just for Clark and Reese, but for the future of how young athletes are scrutinized when their fame extends beyond the game. Caitlin Clark just did what few thought was possible, and she did it without waiting for anyone's permission. She just became the face of a signature Nike sneaker, instantly cementing her name in the elite ranks of sports marketing and flipping the entire conversation around women's sports into overdrive. The headlines weren't exaggerated. The hype wasn't misplaced. This moment is that big because for decades, signature shoes have been the ultimate symbol of athletic dominance and cultural relevance. And let's be real, it's been almost entirely a boys' club. Only a tiny handful of women have ever had their names on their own shoe. So when Nike unveiled that Caitlin Clark would be getting hers, that wasn't just a deal. It was a declaration. This move doesn't just elevate Clark, it rewrites the rules. She's still in the early stages of her career, hasn't won a college championship, hasn't spent a day in the pros. But Nike saw the writing on the wall. They weren't interested in waiting for the trophy shelf to fill up. They're investing in potential, in presence, in power. Because Caitlin Clark doesn't just play the game, she moves the culture. And this is where the shift really begins. For so long, female athletes have had to climb endless ladders just to get a fraction of the recognition. But here's Nike, turning that entire mindset on its head. This isn't about checking boxes. It's about understanding influence. Caitlin Clark has already pulled women's basketball into the spotlight, drawn record-breaking viewership numbers, and become the player everyone has to watch. Her name trends every time she steps on the court. That's not a future star. That's a current phenomenon. Nike knows what it's doing. They played this game before. They recognize when a name has weight, when a player has the potential to not just sell shoes, but to lead a global conversation. And that's exactly what this is. This sneaker isn't just a product launch. It's a symbol. It's a turning point. It tells the sports world and the business world that women athletes can be built into global brands from day one. This is what happens when marketing finally starts reflecting reality. Fans are watching. Young girls are paying attention. There's a massive, hungry audience for women's sports, and Caitlin Clark's signature shoe is going to be the first of many reminders that the old ways of doing business no longer apply. Brands can't afford to ignore that anymore. The conversation around her deal lit up social media, and not just because it was historic. People were invested, excited, proud, and of course, not everyone could handle it. The backlash rolled in, people questioning whether she deserved it, asking if it was too early, nitpicking her resume. But that's how you know the shift is working. Because when gatekeepers get uncomfortable, it means something new is breaking through. Let's not pretend this criticism is based on logic. It's rooted in outdated ideas about who gets to be the face of a brand, who gets opportunities early, who gets celebrated. But here's the truth. Caitlin Clark earned this with performance, presence, and influence. She didn't ask for the spotlight. She became the spotlight. And Nike is making it crystal clear. This is the future. They're choosing to build with her now, not because they need a safe bet, but because they want to shape what comes next. It's a smart move. A long-term play. She's more than an athlete. She's a movement, and Nike wants to be on the front line of that wave. The ripple effects are already showing. This isn't just about Clark anymore. It's about the message this sends to the next generation. that your gender doesn't cap your opportunities, that your impact doesn't have to wait, that if the world sees your value, it can and should invest in it right away. Young athletes are seeing this moment and realizing, I could be a brand now. Not in 10 years. Not after I prove myself a dozen times over. Now, Clark's shoe is more than a product. It's a blueprint, and it's global. Nike's not limiting her sneaker to the US market. They're putting her name on shelves around the world. That means Caitlin Clark isn't just a rising American basketball star. She's being positioned as an international ambassador for women's sports. That level of visibility, that's how cultures shift. That's how sports evolve into industries. That's how young athletes across the globe realize this path is open to them too. The business model here is clear and smart. Nike isn't making a one-off. They're building a brand around her. Variants, colors, re-releases, collabs. This is about longevity, not a moment. They're creating a system where Clark's presence in the sneaker world doesn't just make noise once. It keeps echoing. And with every new drop, the conversation around the value of women's sports gets louder. 2. This is where marketing meets mission. Because it's not just that Clark is marketable. It's that Nike is choosing to recognize that and build something big with it. That recognition sends a message to everyone else in the industry. Time's up for hesitating. Time's up for waiting to see if it's worth it. This moment proves it is. It also raises the stakes for every other brand. Because now there's pressure. Real pressure. Are they going to follow suit and back other rising stars? Are they going to keep pretending women's sports don't have commercial value? Because if they don't step up now, they're going to be left behind. Clark's deal just changed the playbook, and the clock is ticking for everyone else. And here's the deeper impact. Women's basketball just took a massive leap forward in visibility, in legitimacy, in cool factor. This isn't niche anymore. It's mainstream. A signature shoe means you're not just good, you're iconic. That's what Clark is stepping into. That's what young girls are seeing. This kind of representation matters. Seeing someone young, female, and dominant at the center of a global marketing campaign changes expectations. It changes what feels possible. It tells the next generation that you don't have to wait to be great. You don't have to wait to be seen. And maybe most importantly, it tells the world that investing in women athletes isn't a favor. It's smart business. Nike isn't doing this out of charity. They're doing it because Clark will sell, because she already connects, because she's already driving conversations and headlines. This move is going to pay off, not just for Nike, not just for Clark, but for the entire landscape of women's sports. Because the bar is higher now. The door is open. The possibilities just got a lot wider. Let's be real, this isn't just about shoes. It's about who gets to matter, who gets to lead, who gets to define what success looks like. Caitlin Clark didn't wait for the game to catch up to her. She became the game. And if that shakes the industry a little, good. Maybe it needed to be shaken. So if you're still watching women's basketball from the sidelines, thinking it's not ready for prime time, this sneaker says otherwise. And if you're all in on this new era of sports, branding, and equality, hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, share this with someone who still thinks this is just hype, and subscribe for more stories that break the old rules and build something way better. Because this moment, it's only the beginning. And let's be clear, this isn't some random PR stunt that'll fade away after a couple of Instagram posts. This is one of the most important shifts we've seen in women's sports branding in years. Maybe ever. Because when Nike puts your name on a shoe, they're not just endorsing your talent. They're investing in your legacy. And legacy, for an athlete, is everything. They're saying, we see you, not just as a player, but as a pillar. And Caitlin Clark? She just got vaulted into that space. That rare space where athletic performance intersects with pop culture relevance and financial influence. And she's still just getting started. Now, here's what makes all of this even more disruptive. Nike gave her the kind of deal that's usually reserved for dominant, veteran players with years of pro experience. But Clark didn't need to wait, because her influence exploded so quickly and so publicly that the usual gatekeeping timelines just didn't apply. The way she's pulled the spotlight toward women's basketball is, frankly, unprecedented. She's not just a hot topic. She's the topic. People are showing up. They're tuning in. They're buying tickets. They're wearing her jersey. And now, they'll be lacing up in her shoes. Let that sink in. For years, women's basketball has fought tooth and nail for visibility. Now, it has a front-page superstar who's not only changing the conversation, she is the conversation. And while some folks are still trying to play catch-up, Nike's already 3 steps ahead. Because the brand knows that this isn't just about the women's game gaining traction, it's about who's driving that traction. And it's Clark. Her presence, her numbers, her crowd-pulling power. They aren't theoretical anymore. They're proven. But let's not pretend this is happening in a vacuum. This moment is also reflecting something deeper, a broader cultural realignment. For years, we've heard the excuses, women's sports don't sell, there's not enough interest, the audience isn't there. Over and over, those tired refrains used to shut doors before the conversation even started. Clark's sneaker deal just slammed those doors back open. Because this is a brand saying, we believe in what this athlete represents, and we're not waiting for the market to catch up. They're leading it. And that shift, it matters so much. Because when brands move first, industries follow. Nike doing this signals to other companies, sports-related or not, that women athletes aren't just marketable, they're essential to the future of branding. That you don't have to be a 15-year NBA vet or a 2-time Olympic gold medalist to be the face of something global. You just have to move culture. And Clark is doing exactly that. And you know who else sees it? Young athletes. Kids who are already watching her and realizing, this could be me. That's the power of visibility. That's how you grow not just a league, but a generation. And this is what people often overlook when they talk about women's sports, as if they're optional or less than. The representation doesn't just matter on a feel-good level. It has economic weight, social weight, long-term impact. Every time a girl sees Caitlin Clark pull up from the logo, or signs her name in a fan's notebook, or launches a shoe with one of the biggest brands on earth, it's rewriting what's possible. That's how you build staying power. That's how you get away from moments and start building movements. Now, let's get into the business of it all. Because this deal didn't come from thin air, it came from data. Nike saw the traction Clark was already getting. They saw the numbers. Her games are pulling viewership that rivals NBA broadcasts. She sells out arenas. Her merch flies. Her media clips go viral. This isn't potential in theory. It's revenue in real time. And Nike? They know how to scale that. They're not interested in a one-season splash. They're building a foundation. Multiple sneaker editions, regional and global releases, style partnerships, digital activations. It's the kind of full-circle branding that few athletes ever reach, and even fewer reach this early. That's the point. They're not waiting for a championship to validate her, because the impact is already there. And while some might still cling to the belief that signature shoes should be reserved for the proven, Nike's flipping that idea on its head. Because what does proven really mean anymore? Is it rings? Stats? 10 years in the league? Or is it reach, relevance, and resonance? Clark checks all 3. And she does it without pretense, without needing to convince anyone. The proof is in the results. What we're witnessing is a shift in values. Not just in sports, but in marketing as a whole. Influence isn't only about accolades anymore. It's about connection. And Clark connects. Her story, her swagger, her relentless game, it resonates. She's visible, she's accessible, and she's aspirational. That's a trifecta brands would kill for. But more importantly, it's a trifecta the industry needs. Because women's sports are growing fast. Faster than most people expected. And if major companies don't move now, they'll miss the wave. This isn't charity. It's not a gamble. It's smart business. And Nike's move proves it. The ripple effect? Oh, it's coming. Other companies are now under pressure to match this energy. Are they going to invest in the next generation of women's athletes early? Or are they going to play it safe and fall behind? Because once fans see what's possible, they don't want to go backward. They want to see the next big thing get the spotlight they deserve, not be treated like an afterthought. And let's be real, this doesn't stop with basketball. This sets a precedent for soccer, tennis, gymnastics, track. Everywhere women are dominating. The pressure is now on to treat them with the same energy that's been reserved for male athletes for decades. Caitlin Clark isn't just the first of something. She's the start of a bigger blueprint. And what makes this so exciting is that it's all happening in real time. We're not looking back on her career from a distance. We're watching her build it right now, game by game, deal by deal, moment by moment. And that's rare. That's special. That's history in motion. So if you've been sleeping on women's sports, this is your wake-up call. Caitlin Clark didn't break into a system that was already working. She disrupted it. And now, the bar has been raised. The floor has been lifted. The expectations are higher for everyone. And honestly, it's about time. So what's next? More signature deals? More global launches? More record-breaking viewership? Yes to all of it. Because now that the spotlight's on, the world's paying attention. And if Caitlin Clark's rise has shown us anything, it's that when you give women athletes the platform, the investment, and the respect, they deliver. Every single time. And if you're wondering whether this all lives up to the hype, whether a signature sneaker for a college athlete is too much too soon, you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, what took so long? 4 years, women's sports have been stuck in a frustrating cycle of prove it first. Prove you can draw crowds. Prove you can sell merch. Prove you can hold attention. And when they do prove it, the goalposts move. Well, do it again. Do it longer. Do it bigger. But this Caitlin Clark moment, this Nike deal, it breaks that loop. Nike didn't wait for Clark to stack up rings or rack up a decade of pro stats. They saw her now, in the middle of the cultural storm she created, and said, that's enough. She's it. And they were right. Because she is it. Right now. Not 5 years from now. Not after her WNBA rookie season. Now. And that's a seismic shift in how value is assigned to female athletes. It proves that the idea of needing to wait your turn is out. You don't need a mountain of hardware to be worthy of a brand's full backing. What you do need is influence, presence, a connection with your audience. And Caitlin has all of that in spades. She's not just the face of college basketball. She's become the face of women's sports for an entire generation. And this shoe? It's the physical symbol of that. But here's where it gets even more layered. This isn't just about celebrating one athlete's breakout. It's about what this means for the entire women's sports economy. This one deal, one shoe, carries weight far beyond Nike's balance sheet. It sends a message to every young girl who laces up their sneakers and walks into a gym. You're seen. You are valuable. And your dreams are marketable. That's the real game changer. Because this move doesn't just open doors, it rips them off the hinges. It forces every brand, league, media outlet, and decision maker to take a hard look at how they've treated women athletes. Have they ignored their potential? Downplayed their reach? Treated them as optional in business strategy meetings? If so, that era's over. The success of Caitlin Clark's signature shoe is about to become the new standard, the new baseline. And trust, this is going to be profitable, not just for Nike, but for every brand smart enough to stop treating women's sports like an afterthought and start treating it like the booming industry it actually is. And make no mistake, there's serious strategy here. Nike's not just building a shoe. They're building a long-term asset. They're creating a brand around Clark that will live far beyond one season. This is going to be a multi-edition product line with drops, collabs, performance updates, and aesthetic reinventions. It's the kind of infrastructure that male athletes have had for years. Now, Clark's getting it too, and she's bringing women's sports along for the ride. And the potential here? Global. Nike's not just targeting U.S. basketball fans. They're positioning Clark as a worldwide ambassador for women's basketball. Her shoe won't just hit American shelves, it'll go international. That means young girls in Tokyo, Paris, Lagos, Sao Paulo, they're all going to see Caitlin Clark's name on a product and know exactly who she is. That's not just personal branding. That's cultural export. And it matters. Because American women's basketball hasn't always been promoted globally with this kind of energy. But now, Clark's presence is bridging that gap. She's showing that the sport isn't just for niche audiences or select regions. It's universal. And it sells. And this global reach, it's going to create ripple effects. More talent getting discovered. More international games. more overseas deals, more young fans getting pulled into the sport. That's how growth happens. That's how you shift an industry. But here's the other side of this, the part that makes some people uncomfortable. Because with this kind of visibility, Clark is inevitably going to face higher levels of criticism, comparison, and scrutiny. Already, people are dissecting every aspect of her rise. Is she being overhyped? Is the attention fair? What about other players? And yes, those are conversations we should be having. But the focus shouldn't be on tearing Clark down. It should be on pushing everyone up. Her success doesn't mean there's less room for others. It means there's finally space being created. Caitlin Clark didn't take anyone's seat at the table. She built a new one. And as more women athletes get these types of opportunities, the system will finally start reflecting the full spectrum of talent that's always been there, just waiting to be recognized. This deal marks a turning point, a new era where women don't just get a shot after they've done the impossible 10 times over, but when they're hot, visible, and culturally resonant. When a moment is right, not just the resume. And it's not a gamble. It's not progressive PR. It's a solid business decision based on metrics, performance, audience engagement, and brand synergy. Nike didn't throw darts at a wall. They studied the game and moved early, and they'll win big because of it. Caitlin Clark's sneaker is going to sell. It's going to resonate. It's going to inspire. But more than that, it's going to shift how athletes, especially women, view their worth from day one. And maybe that's the most radical part of all this. The permission to dream bigger sooner. So let's ask the real question. Who's next? Because Clark just cracked the ceiling wide open. And if other brands are watching, which they absolutely are, they'd be wise to stop dragging their feet. The future of sports branding isn't just male. It's not just post-championship. It's not just legacy-based. It's now. It's cultural. And it's wide open. So if you're someone who's been waiting for women's sports to have a moment, this is it. If you've been rooting for someone to break through the industry noise and force the narrative to change, look no further. Caitlin Clark just did it. And she did it with a three-point shot, a sold-out crowd, and now a Nike signature sneaker that's about to change everything. If you're ready for more moments like this, moments that shatter glass ceilings and set new standards, go ahead and like this video. Drop a comment below with who you think should be next in line for their own signature deal. And hit subscribe, because if this is what the new era of women's sports looks like, we're so here for it.